In the 1990s, Frank Darabont directed 2 films based on Stephen King novels, and these 2 films have gone on to be some of the most beloved and acclaimed films of all time, with 11 Oscar nominations between them. In 2007, Darabont stepped up and put out another King adaptation that didn't quite hit the heights of his previous 2 outings. While it might not be Oscar-worthy, I think this film is great in its own way. Hello and welcome to Bloody Good. My name's Emily and this is From the Page to the Screen, a show where I look at horror media and the books they're based on to determine just how accurate they are. Today, I'm looking at The Mist by Stephen King and exploring what changes were made from the novella to its 2007 film adaptation. The Mist follows the events that unfold in a small town in Maine after a thunderstorm. A strange mist rolls into town while David and his son are shopping for essentials. When people step out into the mist, they are brutally attacked and killed. David has to decide if he wants to venture out into the mist or stay in the shop where a woman is gaining cult-like followers who believe the mist is God's will and a sacrifice will end the horrors. First, let's talk about the biggest similarities and differences with our characters. David Drayton is played by Thomas Jane, and I really like Thomas Jane in this role. I think he plays David's desperation really well. It's obviously a strange situation to find yourself in, and he plays this confusion really well, with some great emotional moments throughout the film. He's believable both in David's strong leadership moments as well as his more vulnerable moments. The book is written in first person and told through David's perspective, so we know a lot of his inner thoughts throughout the book. This is obviously a bit hard to get across in a film, but I think Jane's performance allows us to understand what he's thinking and feeling anyway. Andre Braugher plays David's neighbour Brent Norton. When I was reading the book, I imagined him more as an elderly man rather than a middle-aged one, and we also spend more time with him and know more about him in the book. In the film, I think in Darabont's attempt to get the story moving along quicker, we lose some of the early normal life in the story in favour of a bit of clunky dialogue in the drive over to the grocery store, where the two talk about things they don't really need to talk about, but it helps us as the audience understand their dynamic more. I think Andre Braugher did a great job with what he was given, but I just wish he'd had a chance to get the development his book counterpart did. I was also a little upset to see that his crushed car at the beginning was changed. In the book he has a T-Bird, but in the film it's a Mercedes. Which I guess is actually good, because it would have made me really sad to see a T-Bird all crushed. Marcia Gay Harden plays Mrs. Carmody, and oh boy does she do a good job of it. You really want to smack her, because she is so annoying. She has a larger role here than in the book. In the book, all of her rantings and ravings are kind of background noise because the story is told from David's perspective, but obviously the film shows us what everyone gets up to in the store, so we see more from Mrs. Carmody. The sense of grandeur she has over everyone else and the way she manages to captivate the attention of others to join her little doomsday cult is brilliant. Now, I did imagine a very elderly woman when I read the book, but I think Harden did a great job here, so I really don't mind that much. And this is a completely different role for her compared to another one I've covered in this series before, where she plays Celeste in Mystic River, which was also an excellent performance. She's a brilliant actress. Toby Jones plays Ollie Weeks, one of the workers at the grocery store. I love Toby Jones, and I thought it was really cool to see him in this sort of role. He usually plays quite meek characters, or characters known for their brains, not their brawn. But here, you get some badass moments. I'm not really sure who I imagined when reading the book, but it wasn't Toby Jones. However, I think he did a great job with the role. A lot of his dialogue and character beats are translated pretty accurately from the novella. And we have a who's who of the cast of The Walking Dead. Frank Darabont certainly has his people. A quick rundown here, we've got Jeffrey DeMunn, Laurie Holden, Melissa McBride, Juan Gabriel Pareja, Sherry Gearhart, Sam Witwer, Brandon Odell, Julio Cesar Cedillo, and Tiffany Morgan, who all play roles in The Walking Dead, from uncredited roles to main characters. I like the changes in Laurie Holden's character, Amanda Dunphy. She seems more put together in the film than in the book, and there also isn't the random sex scene between her and David that felt just really out of place in the book. Because this scene is excluded, though, it doesn't make as much sense for Mrs. Carmody to still call her the whore when seeking sacrifices, but whatever. She's a great actress and she does well with what she's given. And it's especially clear Darabont has his favourites, because Jeffrey DeMunn's character Dan Miller makes it further in the film than he does in the book. Dan doesn't make it back from the trip to the pharmacy. The spiders have their way with him in the book, but in the film he makes it up until that fateful moment right at the end. Now let's look at the plot and pick out some key moments that stood out to me as either being captured perfectly or being changed. One issue I had with the film was the way the creatures looked. While we don't get really explicit descriptions, we get enough to get the gist of how awful these things look in the book. And don't get me wrong, the creatures in the film are gross, but I think they do suffer a bit from that kind of naughty CGI. They don't look very realistic, and even the mist itself just looks very fake at points. The biggest change for me with the creatures was the spiders in the pharmacy. These were initially designed in maquette form and followed the description from the book closely, but Darabont decided to stray from that design. Greg Nicotero, the key special effect makeup supervisor and creature designer, said, Frank wanted the spiders to have an almost human grinning face. We didn't want it to be literally a guy's head stuck on a spider's body like the Zante Misfits, so Mike Broom and I came up with a design that looked like a grinning death's head when the spider closed its mandibles over its mouth. They look super freaky, but there's something less scary about them than their book counterparts. This is something I have in real life with spiders. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but I feel like the colour of a spider correlates with my fear of them. Trigger warning for any arachnophobes watching, there's going to be a few pictures on the screen here, so close your eyes and I'll let you know when it's safe to open them again. I find spiders that are lighter in colour much less scary than dark spiders. I don't really know why, because they're spiders, but I find white or green spiders quite cute, but the black ones, especially ones with thick dark legs, are a big no for me. So this is what they look like in the final film, and this is what the original maquette plan was. I really think they dropped the ball here. It would have been so much creepier. The pictures are gone now, so it's safe to open your eyes. In making these spider-like creatures white, they actually lost the fear factor for me personally, and in the book these creatures are described as having 12 or 14 legs, but the films have the bog standard 8. Piggybacking off this point is the pharmacy scene in general, which is quite different to the book, and I absolutely get why it was done for the film, and I think it actually works really well, so I'm not complaining here. When the gang goes to the pharmacy in the book, it's carnage immediately. In the book, we have the context that the pharmacy had its front door open because the power was off and the air conditioning wasn't running. The grocery store had doors that closed behind its customers, but the pharmacy had their door propped open when David went by and into the grocery store earlier in the story. And that door being open meant every little creature got in and had a nice old time in there. So when the gang get there to investigate, it's an absolute bloodbath. But in the film, it's eerily quiet. There's the hint of webs around, and then they see the bodies hanging from the ceiling suspended in webs, and then the spiders all start coming out to attack. There's also a military policeman who's all webbed up and looking worse for wear. He says it's all our fault, and in the chaos of everything happening, he falls to the ground and about 1 billion baby spiders hatch from his body. It's disgusting, and it had my skin crawling. While this scene was different, I think it absolutely works for the tone set in the film. My only issue with it is the confirmation that the military had something to do with everything, which is explored further in the film too, when one of the soldiers confirms the military was working on creating a portal to another dimension. I kind of liked it more in the book where we didn't know what caused the mist. There was obviously the speculation that it was the military, but there wasn't really any confirmation. With Mrs. Carmody in the film, we get this really weird moment where one of the bugs flies around her, then lands on her, and flies away without causing her any harm. It's almost like it's justifying all of her madness and that she was right about everything with God's will and that she's deserving of being spared. She has a little gaggle of followers and she talks about the sins of man, including splitting the atom, stem cells, and abortions. So in the film, they're really going for her being an extreme Christian nutjob. Whereas in the book, she's just kind of the town crazy with her little shop of oddities and just general weird behaviour. In both the book and the film though, Ollie shoots her and kills her after pretty much just being done with all of her madness. Valid. I think overall the book leaves a lot to imagination. We don't know what caused the mist, we don't know what became of David's wife, and we don't know what happens at the end. A contentious opinion I've had in some of my other videos is when the film completely changes the ending. In particular, I took issue with the film endings of both The Shining and Doctor Sleep because of how much was changed from the book ending. But on this occasion, I think it elevates the story massively. Stephen King had this to say about the ending. When Frank was interested in the mist, one of the things that he insisted on was that it would have some kind of an ending, which the story doesn't have. It just sort of peters off into nothing, where these people are stuck in the mist and they're out of gas and the monsters are around and you don't know what's going to happen next. When Frank said that he wanted to do the ending that he was going to do, I was totally down with that. I thought it was terrific, and it was so anti-Hollywood, anti-everything really. It was nihilistic. I liked that, so I said, you go ahead and do it. And Frank Darabont only agreed to make the film with Dimension Films under the condition that they would not change his ending under any circumstances. So we got the ending he wanted. The book ending is a nice hopeful wish for humanity. The indomitable spirit to survive is shown in the book ending, with David choosing to believe that there's hope in Hartford and that they will find a way there if they can. He leaves his writing in hopes that someday someone will find it and read it, again hoping for a positive future where everyone manages to get past this. And then you get the film ending. It's completely different, but my god is it incredible. Unfortunately, I did know about the ending before watching it for the first time, but that didn't make it any less impactful. It's so bleak and sad to know that if David had just waited literally another minute, everyone would have been okay. And then to kick you while you're down, you spot Melissa McBride, the woman who left the shop early in the film, and she's with her kids and she's fine. It's rough. And honestly, for this last scene alone, I feel like that bumps the film up massively. Overall, while there are a lot of changes made for the film, for the most part, I think they're worthy changes. I still have my issues with the spiders, but in terms of the whole story, I really like this adaptation. The novella is fantastic and I flew through it, but on this occasion I'm going to have to give it to the film. That ending just really solidifies it. If you've read the book and or seen the film, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Do you think Frank Darabont did the book justice, or do you prefer the original story? If you're a fan of horror books, I previously covered some other Stephen King books such as Dr. Sleep and Misery, so check those out in the playlist on our channel and they'll be linked on your screen in just a moment too. And if you've got any recommendations for your favourite horror books and their adaptations, please leave them in the comments. I've got an ever-growing list of books you guys want me to check out. I also want to give a special shout out to our two members, Roan the Hero and Phantom Crow. We really appreciate your support. If you'd like to support us, you could consider becoming a member for exclusive polls and posts as well as input on upcoming videos. We're working on some other incentives for our members, and at the moment our members have a discount code for Screen13, a shop we love that sells horror-themed patches just like this one. We don't get anything from your purchase for Screen13, we just wanted to support a small business run by a horror-loving couple like ourselves, so if you want to get 15% off some amazing patches, become a bloody good member and you can get the code, which expires at the end of August. They ship internationally as well, and not for too expensive, so check it out. If you're a horror fan, consider subscribing and checking out our other videos. We have a series where we explore horror films that claim to be based on a true story, and my co-host Montgomery covers the behind the scenes of some of the most iconic horror films of all time, one of which is linked on your screen right now. If you want more videos like this, check out the playlist which is linked on your screen right now too. In the meantime, I've been Emily, this has been Bloody Good, thank you so much for watching.